Wrestlers Laboratory fans, I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert. Lab Normal was Wrestlers Laboratory full-fledged debut show. What a great event it turned out to be. It begins with the ring announcer, whose names I don't get right now, comes out to welcome the crowd, but out comes Mark Adam Haggerty, who was mentioning that he was making his in-ring debut and said he was going to win the Nucleus Battle Royal to become the new Nucleus champion later in the show. Eventually, he leaves the ring, and we get the action underway, which was supposed to be a six-way state. I forgot what the word was, but a seven-way match, which saw Richard Holiday defeat Rocket Boy Wilson, Nick Tendo, very creative, AJ Gray, Matt Kenway, Chip Day, and Montequilla. Very good matchup to start off the show. Next, in singles action, we saw classless Mason Miles. He defeated Wheeler Utah. Then, an 8-man tag, the main state posse. I don't know the three individual names. And Ryan Gallione, they come out for their 8-man tag team match. The posse notices the grandmother of Coach Mikey, the manager of the Ugly Ducklings, and they're all ready to go at it. I don't know if they gave each other the bird again, like they did at Innovative Pro's debut in May. But the 8-man tag gets on, where the Ugly Ducklings and the Diamond Dogs come out, and the match was on, and the Dogs and Ducklings had Gallione and the posse reeling until, as the Ducklings were doing the launch pad McQuack, I forgot which Duckling was in midair. He took a super kick from one of the Diamond Dogs, and the Dogs walked out of the match, and as a result, the main state posse and Ryan Gallione ended up defeating the Diamond Dogs and Ugly Ducklings. And after the match ended, the Dogs and the Ducklings, Dogs come back out. They get into a brawl with the Ducklings. Next was a 4-way matchup, which saw the Spasmanian Devil, Andrew Palace, defeat Ken Dixon, Kevin Koo, and Sean Donovan. Then it was time for the Nucleus Battle Royal, which was more like a Royal Rumble match. Now, I forget the order of entry, but among the participants were the Punk Rock Poindexter Darwin Finch, the Gifted Ike Cross, Chris the Hype Henry, King Bailey Blake, Moonshine McCready, the American Sumo Mike Gamble, Fighting Dreamer Chris Crunk, the Caramel Kodiak Barrington Hughes, but I don't think he showed up, the Conscious King Haru, King Leon the Sixth, Alan Angels, Isana, I think she was called the Sweetheart Suplex something. I do apologize if I get everything wrong. O'Shea, the Silver Tongue Edwards, the Unpredictable Jay George, the Cookie Pimp TK Luther. Now, who's going to be next? The Cookie Crook and the Cookie Cop from Cookie Crisp Cereal? The Strategist Jess Neff, the Shamrock Shooter, Killian McMurphy, and, as I mentioned earlier, the in-ring debut of Mark Adam Haggerty. Haggerty eventually comes out. He spent most of the time basically out on the floor, sitting with people in the crowd. And eventually it wound up being the wretched Trevor Eon, or is it Aeon? He ended up winning it to win the vacant Nucleus Championship. At that point, the show went to intermission. Then we get back to the action. It was scheduled to be it was a relaxed rules matchup where the hippie Dickie Moon defeated Gary J, who, for some reason, the Iron Demon Shane Mercer was unable to make this show. Then in a 4-way tag team matchup, we saw the Hierarchy. I do apologize for not getting their individual names, as they defeated yours truly, Alex Reynolds, and the Pectorial Poseidon, Rex Lawless, the Thick Boys, John Silver, and I forgot his partner's name, I apologize for that, and the Twerk Horses, the Concrete Rose, Sonny Kiss, and Jake Parnell. Or is it Purnell? Then, a great singles matchup, we saw Ace Austin defeat the man with so many nicknames, David Starr. Great matchup there. Then, in a three-way matchup, we saw Tyler Matrix defeat the Bad Apple, Matt McIntosh, and Kevin Blackwood. And then it was main event time as the bad boy Joey Janela challenged the Hitman for Hire, Mr. Grimm, for the Wrestlers Laboratory Heavyweight Championship in a body bag match. Grimm was accompanied by his son, and there was a gentleman with him. Didn't get his name. They carried like an extra body bag to the ring, and originally I forgot what happened to the first body bag, but they eventually threw it out of the ring. Grimm's son eventually comes in, and he chops Janela in the chest, and Janela grabs this poor kid, puts him headfirst into the garbage can, pushes the garbage can over into one of the merchandise tables up against the wall. Eventually, Mr. Grimm, I guess he took advantage at that point. And at that point, it was Grimm defeated Joey Janela in the body bag match to retain the heavyweight championship. And then out comes the Hierarchy, who were victorious earlier in the show, and they're standing on the stage. But then out of nowhere comes former Ring of Honor superstar Jimmy Rave. He attacks Grimm from behind, leaves him laying in the ring. And Rave really has changed his look. He grew a beard, he got a few tattoos. Doesn't look as skinny as he used to be. So it'll be interesting to see where things go in the land of the Wrestlers Laboratory from that point on. Personal notes, it was great sitting with Karen and her sister Melanie. Great seeing Mike McNicholas, Jack Peterson, Phillip. Front row Mikey, I know he was there. Let's see. I pointed out to Karen there was a guy in the front row who looked like Jersey All Pro wrestling star Arcadia. I know it wasn't him, folks. She thought maybe it was his brother or something. I forgot to point out that prior to the 8-man tag team match, the Main State Posse got a hold of the Ugly Ducklings merch and they ripped it up and tried to eat it. No announcement has been made yet for the next Wrestlers Laboratory show. I'm guessing it could be in the fall. And I want to point out one thing. First of all, Wrestlers Lab, please don't run on Sundays during football season. And I'm about to address something here, which, and this is why I'm reluctant to go to indie wrestling shows that start at 4 p.m. on Sundays. Show ended between 8 and 8:30 p.m. and there was supposed to be a bus at 9:16 p.m. and unfortunately that bastard never showed. How do I know this? Because Jack Peterson, Phillip, and this one other guy who came to the show, they were waiting at the stop before where Mike McNicholas and I were waiting. And it was like, all of a sudden, it was like approaching 10 p.m. And it was like 10... And we knew there was a bus a few blocks away that was going to show up at 10:28 p.m. So when 10:15 p.m. arrived, Mike and I decided to walk further down and grab that bus. And due to an accident on one of the throughways or the turnpikes, we got back to New York City around 11:30 p.m. And I got off the train near home after 1 a.m. and wound up calling out from my job because there was no way I was going to be able to go to work on very little sleep. So that's basically what happened there. Definitely, yeah, got yourself a great show, Wrestlers Lab. Chris Ruiz, keep up the great work, man. Karen and Melanie, I sure hope to sit next to you ladies again for a show. And definitely, I'm sure things will pick up and continue to rise.